Okay, good evening. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. Aside from this cough that keeps popping up at the most inopportune moments. Um,
Oh,
but yeah. Otherwise, I'm doing pretty good. Happy to be here this evening with you, especially for this type of script. It's one that tries to pull on some heartstrings. I think. We'll
yeah.
let you know over the course of the conversation if it worked or not.
Yeah.
How are you? How are you doing? I'm glad to have you back again.
Oh, I'm doing well. It's been a busy week. Been a busy month, and
Hmm.
just trying to get things wrapped up for a couple of big projects start. Um, that just take me away from the things I do for fun. But other than that, I can't complain.
That was good. Are you getting a brush of warm weather unexpectedly out in your neck of the woods? Because over here it's still summer temperature, and we're almost a week into October.
It just dropped today. In fact, we got snow-capped mountains today, and
Ooh.
I wisely decided to pour a street of concrete this morning and had to cover it just before I got here so it didn't get ruined by the rain because it just started pouring as soon as I was done and finished it.
Oh, wow. Well, I would say good on you for for those instincts there.
If I hadn't done it though, I'd just be waiting it up because it's supposed to rain all week. And we had a brush a hot spell and now it's getting cold. It'll warm back up again a little bit just around actual Halloween.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping that we get warm weather up until the end of the month, just because um, a couple of the productions I'm working on, we do need some extra days outside, and we need that warm weather, or otherwise you have to spend a few extra grand to heat the area up. And yeah, I'm
Is
crossing my
it
fingers that
is,
we can do that.
is it for comfort or does it affect the way the shoots go? Like we needed sunlight at certain times or things just look and feel different when it
Well, the it we need it
obviously
for
snow.
comfort and for continuity because we shot certain sections about 2 months ago
Mm.
for this project, and now we have to do some pickups on it because we had an actor that was replaced.
Oh,
So we got to make sure that the environment looks the same, and sometimes you have to bring in some artificial aid in order to do that. And but if the weather is still like in if this weather's still between 21 and 28 degrees Celsius here in the city, then yeah, there's nothing to worry about. All we have to do is just set up to start shooting at say 11 a.m., work till 3 when we got our peak sun hour, like the golden hour, and or golden hours really, and then we're off, back on schedule.
well, that's good. At least you wouldn't get away with it in the mountains, and
Yeah,
it's hard to make
I mean,
fall and summer look the same.
yeah, that's true. But yeah, like so yeah, I'm hoping for that. And the other part too is like I don't want to bust out my winter clothes right away. I still like to wear
Yeah.
like loose pants and shorts and short sleeves and be able to be outside and feel the air on my skin and have it not be an abrasive cold pinch.
Yeah. Yeah. Coats and scarves and gloves.
Yeah. All right. Well, okay. With that, let's get this show on the road. Seems like our audio is all good. I want to thank everyone out there in the live chat listening, and everyone out there listening on the replay, because we're gonna have a really fun show for you today. Excuse me, boy. Yeah, uh, summer colds suck.
Oh,
With that
worst.
being said, welcome to Scripts on Saturdays, the only screenplay review show on the interwebs discussing scripts, both professional and amateur, circulating around Hollywood, giving you, the TV and movie going audience, a behind the scenes and inside track on what writers are pushing and what producers are buying. I am your host, the Script Doctor, and joining me this week, returning champion, Jake of 52 Movies a Year. So happy to have you here for this week, and happy to have you here always. Um, let's jump in because we've got what's pitched as a rom com for us. This script that we're reviewing this week is called "The Seven Guys You Date Before Marriage." It came in 11th place on the 2024 Blacklist with 22 votes, written by Julia Yorks. Logline is after her 10-year relationship collapses, a newly single woman dives back into the dating pool, navigating 7 wildly different romantic entanglements that prepare her for her future husband. Jake, could you please share with us the synopsis for the 7 guys you date before marriage?
Yeah, no problem. After a horrible anniversary date, Avery breaks up with her boyfriend Noah in order to find her one true love. Thinking she has to remake her own mother's story of falling in love with her father, she sets out to repeat what the strategy her mother made in the 1980s with an older article of the 7 men you date before marriage. Updating it for the 21st century, Avery looks to find happiness, but she can do that. But can she do that in a world of online dating, ghosting, and sudden heart attacks?
All right. So yes, we've got type of a classic archetype for a rom com, kind of similar to What's Your Number, 27 Dresses, all those types that have popped out here. I kept on thinking of My Best Friend's Wedding while reading this script. But before we get into the nitty gritty details, Jake, what was your first impression of within the first act of the story? Like, how'd you find the introduction of Avery and Noah and Avery's group of friends, her support group, and parents?
You know what? Trope, stereotype kept coming to mind, but that's not a bad thing. I'm not meaning that as a criticism, but
Hmm.
it's like, as it described our two friends, it's like, okay, well, you're going to be that, you're going to be that. And that's okay though, because that works because you kind of, but that it can work because sometimes on a rom com,
Hmm.
character is so much of the focus that their friends need to just be that predictable thing so that they can set up the joke,
Right.
so that they can be the person. And so again, that wasn't negative or bad, but you could see it coming.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, you had, what was it? Megan and Ellis are the two best friends to Avery. Megan is like her childhood girlfriend, I guess. For years, Megan happens to be a lesbian. She doesn't like compliments, but she doesn't hate men, like anything of that. She just prefers women. So I thought that was kind of
yeah,
an interesting part. And then you have Ellis, who's a gay man who desperately wants to be with Anderson Cooper, which I think was kind of funny. Um, and also, he's incredibly encouraging for Avery. Like there's a motivation behind all three of these characters, which is they want love in the relationship. Well, Alice is his love is dedicated to one unattainable character who is real to our world, Anderson Cooper. Um, uh, Avery feels that the love that she has is her long term boyfriend Noah, and Megan uh, is in a position where she's fighting against falling in love because she doesn't like compliments. She doesn't like, being encouraged, things of that nature, which is a peculiar trait, but an interesting one to perform.
yeah,
There's a running joke between Avery and Megan where anytime Avery does something stupid and wants to apologize to Megan, Megan's like, I hate it when people apologize to me, and Avery says, well, I just canceled the flower arch gift. So um, excuse me. So, very strong and interesting dynamic. But we have, I will say this: the opening starts off pretty strong with the cliche, but cliche for laughs,
yeah,
romantic anniversary dinner on a terrace overlooking New York City.
yes,
Um,
and,
Beautiful visual painted by
yeah,
the writer.
yeah, it was, and set up simple but yet precise, I guess,
Oh
efficiently.
yeah, and I think what's funny is that we have this. There's a shorthand between these two because number one, I mean, we have Noah who is described as kind of like offbeat, unbothered, kind of like comfortable with his life. Um, you can tell that Avery is high strung, but not in the level that would annoy you. Not Karen high strung, more like Heidi high strung. So
Yeah,
and it starts off strong. Like they're wishing each other happy anniversary. They're saying they love each other. Um, Noah, um, Noah, like, and then they kind of reminisce a little bit about how long they've been together and how And Avery kind of implies that we've been together longer than we've ever been apart. And Noah's like, I don't ever want to be apart from you. And you're like, okay, this is sweet, cheesy, corny, but just the right level of what you want for a rom-com. And then he breaks the tension. It's like, except right now, I got to go, hit the John, which is definitely the type of thing when you're very comfortable with a person, you have no problem just espousing your bathroom schedule, whether it's a surprise or if it's a planned. And so Avery thinks like this is going to be the moment, like everything is perfect for the table, the atmosphere. Fireworks are starting to erupt in the background, and of course Megan's getting texts from her best friend. Avery's getting texts from her best friend saying like, is it happening? Did he propose? And Avery's like, I think it's happening. And of course Alice is in the group chat saying yay, and Megan's like, okay, marriage is a scam by big wedding, but I'm very happy for you.
Yeah.
And then you get this really impressive display where fireworks erupt overhead, and it spells out, "Will you marry me?" And Avery's looking at this, and she's completely like on the brink of tears. And then she hears someone from off screen saying, "Oh my God, yes!" And she turns over, and it's a young woman, and there's a guy on his knee proposing to her. And she's like, yes, 1,000 times yes, like all the cool cheesy stuff that you have. And then she shouts out, thank you so much, everyone. We've been together for 3 years. I thought she'd never ask. And Avery's like, oh, that is
3 years,
right? So, how do you find that contrast, that little setup and payoff?
You know what? We've seen it all before, but it was, but with romantic comedies, you've seen it all.
Yeah.
Right. So there's nothing wrong with redoing the stuff. Because it works. And I liked when Noah walks in and he goes, "Whoa, cool fireworks!" That typical. But I miss. I think that, and this is the beginning of page 3. That's very efficient.
Yeah.
Set all that up right away. That was good. I thought it worked. I thought it worked well.
I thought it worked well too, because it gets right to the goal. Like, what does Avery want? She wants to be Noah's wife. What is she hoping for? She's hoping for the proposal. The setting is perfect for a proposal. It's an anniversary dinner. Noah steps away. You think, oh, he's going to come back. He's going to have something to distract her, and then get on one knee, do the ring. That's what she's thinking. That's what the audience is designed to think. And then we get the turn, which is before Noah shows up, someone else is getting engaged. And then you find out that it's after only a third. It's after only a third of the time that she's been with Noah that this couple is getting engaged, like 3 years. Now, personally, I think 3 years is a little too soon. I'm more of a 6-year guy. Like, if you can make it 6, then that's a done deal. Excuse me. But listen, everybody has their own pace. Everybody has their own ability to learn each other at their own rate. I only hold that standard for myself, not for anyone else, unless it's 6 hours, in which case, what the heck's wrong with you? But yeah, we get this cool setup, and we instantly know, like the moment Noah comes in and says, "Whoa, cool, fireworks," that Avery is very upset.
Yes.
Now, I do have my first criticism is the opening titles, and has to do with we get a collection of photos between Avery and Noah over the years, and then it kind of gets sidetracked when we're introduced to Avery's mother by photo. Her name is Janet, and she sadly passes away due to cancer. So we never actually see or get to know who Janet is. It's all by proxy of other characters around her. And I felt that kind of threw off the flow of what we were supposed to see here, because you've interrupted a montage of a life between these two people with the death of a family member.
Mm-hmm.
And I get what the writer is trying to put here. I don't know if this is the most effective way to have nailed it, because we still want to get the contrast of, oh, look at the irony. This was a happy couple of 11 years. Her boyfriend didn't propose. Now we're doing a montage to show how long they've been together, the level of intimacy they had, the understanding of why Avery believed that this would be the night. And we get thrown in another subplot that is kind of a downer, and it doesn't work the same way that you would get with Up, with that beautiful couple.
Oh yeah.
Before it becomes Ed Asner, becomes the old grumpy old man who just wants to float away with his house across the world. So that threw me for a loop at this point, which I was a little shocked by, because after 3 really strong pages, and then we get this, it's like, okay, well, now what's the context here? Because you made me laugh, you're trying to make me cry, but you're doing so in not as clever as like how a Ted Lasso show does it, but
Yeah.
more like almost like a level of superficial manipulation. It's like, oh, look at all these happy couple. Look at this happy couple. Look at the parents of each man and woman, the Avery and Noah. They're all there, and then all of a sudden, one parent vanishes. It's like that really does bring down the mode here, and it's not. Yeah, it didn't start. I think if it started with Janet, maybe like a home video, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just speculating what I wish it could be as opposed to what it actually is. But what it actually is, I think, is a little weak. Personally, that's just my opinion.
Well, especially with strong, efficient writing setting that up, that it treats it as something you just need to know, and we got to get it out of the way.
Yeah.
And or was I supposed to feel something? And if I just happened to look away, did I miss it? Or, you know, I my critique that will come up at the end of the movie, end of the script, kind of ties back to that, as kind of like, what were they trying to do?
Mm-hmm.
To that exact point right there. So, which I'll bring up later.
Well, don't worry about it because we won't spoil it. But like immediately after that opening titles montage, what is our scene? It's the start or the midpoint of an argument between Avery and Noah. So we get a montage of Avery's mother dying, followed by quick cuts of Noah and Avery's photos, smiling, happy, seemingly in love, down to contrast of in the midst of an argument. A little too much too early. That's my point.
Yeah, it's still trying to maximize efficiency, just getting to where I need to go, rather than cutting to where I need to go.
And landing with a subplot that it does have personal meaning to personal meaning to Avery, but it does come. I would say the intention is to be efficient, but I don't think it lands as efficient because I'm gonna tell you guys where I'd put the reveal of that momentarily. But first, I want to talk about the argument between Noah and Avery because great character development here. Like really good, because of course it's this is a great example of what we talked about last week and what I've talked about on the Patreon and on Twitter and on other YouTube channels, is that every character, every time they speak, whatever they say has to get them closer to whatever goal they have, and everything that Avery is saying in this scene is about how, number one, she does love Noah, she wants to be married, and she wants that love story in that family. And Noah is a guy who we understand he loves Avery. He wants to be with her, but we don't believe that he wants to marry her, and we don't understand why he doesn't want to marry her. That part's not done. But he definitely is supposed to be that archetype where he gets to a point where he's perfectly happy at this point. He's in a state of arrested development. He's afraid of change.
He just doesn't like things to change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so and it's literally like Avery opens up, in 11 years, do you even have a ring? And of course, Noah doesn't have an answer, doesn't say anything, which is bad after 11 years. And then his argument is, well, what's the rush? And of course, she's like, well, it's 11 years. I guess that's the problem. There is no rush. That's the problem. And And then she brings up her mom. It's like, you know what my mom always said, and I think this is a nice little touching part. She said the happiest day of her life wasn't her wedding day or the days my brother and I were born. And you're thinking, oh, that's cold. But no, she pays it off with a really great follow-up. She says the happiest day of her life was the day that my dad proposed. Not because it was big or flashy. They were just in their living room surrounded by candles, but because that moment made all of the other best moments possible. Yeah. And it's like, that is a beautiful story because that's a cause and effect situation, right? Like, yeah. And it's also kind of like one of the things maybe a lot of couples, a lot of people with families don't think about in the same context all the time. They'll say, yeah, oh yeah, the wedding day was the happiest day because that led to everything. They won't go back that one step further. What's really funny is that even though like my parents fought all the time, my mom would always say the happiest day of her life was when she first met my dad when they were working at McDonald's. And she had no idea. She heard about who my dad was because my grandmother, my dad's mother, was an assistant manager at McDonald's, and she just talked about her kid all day. And she had no idea. She's like, "Who is this kid?" He's like, "He must be the most annoying person on the planet." And then my grandmother goes to another McDonald's, and then my dad works at that one. And then my parents meet, and then they fall in love, and then all the other stuff happens, And I thought, okay, yeah, I completely relate to what Avery's saying here. Like, it's totally a cool story, and it's also an interesting aspect of love. It's about that point of commitment, right? And that leads to all the other beneficial things. And I'm thinking, okay, that must be the theme of this, right? Finding that one person to make the happiest day of your life, stand out. And of course, Noah. He says the best thing is like, we're not your parents. We have our own love story and our own timeline, and that's what makes us special, makes us different. But Avery, in order to escalate the fight, it says like it's not. Oh, excuse me, coughing and now belching now. It's not our timeline. It's now Noah's timeline because he's the one that's holding things up. Now, of course, if this was another writer with an agenda, Avery would buy the ring and then get down on one knee and then hand it to Noah to say, "Put this on my finger and we're getting married." Girl bossing it.
Yeah,
we don't get that here.
I like she pulls out a kitchen a ring pop.
Yeah, she goes. Yeah, that's right. She goes to She goes to the kitchen, grabs a ring pop, and she's like, even if it's not flashy, do this.
Yeah, I would marry you right now. Would you marry me? And I like that because, like you said, it's the other way around. It would be, I'm making this happen, and this is progressive, and this is what we do now. And this, but no, it's like she just said, this could be our symbol.
Yeah.
I was putting him on the spot. But she was naturally led to that point.
Right. And so this part here, what follows up next is something, it's a interesting setup, but we see a different byproduct of that, which is Avery storms out off Noah, who's frustrated, and we smash cut into Avery's parents' home. Avery is sitting in her mother's closet, just kind of bawling, She pulls out her phone. She sees that the background photo is of her and Noah, and of course she throws the phone and then bangs her head against the wall, which then breaks and covers her hair with drywall and bits and pieces of the rest of the wall.
We've all done that. We've all got mad or done something, and
yeah, something happened.
We get aware of the evidence of it.
I remember many years ago I was putting up a shelf for my sister, and then she really like managed to get under my skin, and I just took it out on the nail, but I hit the nail so hard it went right through the wall and then it like past the support and like right in there, and there's a little hole where the top of the hammer went into, and it's like, I'm gonna have to get another nail. Just walk back. Her fiance is my brother-in-law now, was just laughing. He's like, that was really funny. He just said that like so smoothly, it's like it was out of a sitcom. It's like, yeah, well, when you're around a lot of actors and you write these types of scenes, they just come natural to perform them that way.
That's funny. I
Yeah.
like that.
Excuse me. Excuse me. But yeah, so she kind of messes up the closet. She tries to get up. Things all fall over on her, and what ends up falling on her is a small shoebox. And then she opens the lid and finds a little black book, and she scurries out to her family. Her dad's named Marty. He's 60. He's described as pretty kind. You've got Cole, who's 20, so he's like 10 years younger than Avery. Yeah, he's kind of angsty, kind of a skeever, I guess would be the thing to. He's the type of guy that would eat food if it was sitting out on the
Yeah.
floor for a couple of days. Like, it's still good.
Yep.
And then you've got Nana, who reminds me of Cloris Leachman.
Oh my! I cannot believe you said that. That's who I pictured.
Yeah,
I just watched Sky High. My son was watching that, and I'm sitting there, and that's who I could picture was Cloris Leach.
yeah.
Lee!
So, and like she's still saucy. She hits everybody who uses moderately foul language, while still also in a polite way saying the most very saucy and dirty things.
Yeah, she's actually hit somebody for saying the exact same thing she said.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, like she's basically saying like, "Oh, Dad, I found this shoebox of some of Mom's things. I never knew that they had this. What is this?" And it's a black notebook, and then there's a clip out from a magazine article from like Cosmo that reads like the 7 guys you date before marriage, and it's a checklist that her mother went through, and we find out that her mom and her dad, who were childhood sweethearts, decided to take a short break, and and eventually, like her mother dated 7 other guys. We don't know the extent of what that was, but what we do know is that at the end of it, her parents got together, and so going into one of Avery's character flaws that's pointed out not just in interactions but also by Noah is that she feels the need to relive her mother's story, and there's a really interesting empathetic aspect to this because the through line is that if Avery's able to live her mom's story, it feels like her mom is still alive, and I
Yeah.
thought that's a really cool sentiment.
Yeah.
Trying to hold on to the memories of someone that you love that's no longer around. No new memories can really come from them. But if you repeat maybe her story so that it lives again, you have new memories that are complemented by the ones that are no longer able to be made. And and it's like, okay, I had to give my props to Julia Yorks. Like she knows how to uh hit a compliment towards family and absence and loss, while at the same time trying to show hope for your main character. And I like how the dad, Marty, talks about it. He's like, well, we didn't really break up. We took a break.
We took a break.
And then you have the most contemporary thing that maybe a woman of Avery's age might know, which is like, what is this, season 3 of Friends? When, how, why? I don't know if a 30-year-old woman would know that because Friends debuted when she was 5 or so when she was born and then ended when she was like 10. And I don't think
Wow.
10-year-olds would be interested in the TV show of Friends. Maybe, I guess, during the pandemic, she binged the whole season or series.
Yeah, but it was the people who went week to week that repeat that and know season 3 and know the difference. That's the time when we had appointment television, not binge television. You don't pick up as many details as when you binge it.
Right. Yeah, because everything bleeds together at that point. You don't have the time between episodes to digest what you just saw.
It was all one big season.
It kind of feels that way. One big season, one big lifetime, all across 10 years, 200 episodes type of thing.
Or just, the only thing that separated it was haircuts. I remember
Right.
that.
Now, do you remember like what the rationale was between that Marty, the dad says, was between him and his wife at the time? It's okay if you don't. I can pull it up, but
You know
I
what?
want to get your thoughts on that because you're a very solid guy.
I actually don't. I
Okay,
don't
no problem.
see any
This
of
will
them.
definitely jog your memory. So their argument was that they'd been together as children, that they kind of grew up together. Where
At 14, I
yeah,
remember.
starting at 14. So they decided the reason they took a break is they wanted to see how much of themselves were whole without each other, so that they didn't feel like they were half of each other. Like they wanted to be whole, so that when they came together, those holes would be stronger. Um, and it wasn't really. And I think what was kind of interesting here is that there's nothing that implies that the other half is built up by getting a body count. It
Yes.
was all really about like how do they function independently, and are they able to function independently? Because if you can function independently, it means you complement the person you're with when you're then together. So
Yeah.
like you're not a crutch for each other. You're a foundation. Like you're strong. You're not fragile. If a small part breaks away, it's not going to collapse the entire thing, right?
Right.
And we get a sense of that being the case because Marty, he's lost his wife. He's raising his 20-year-old son, and he's clearly been raising him essentially by himself for however long his wife's been departed. And then you've got Nana in there, and Nana's not really doing much of the raising. She's just like the person in the background, the chorus with commentary, just espousing and slapping
Yeah.
people. like, like she's not supporting the family. She's just there. And Marty's kind of doing the heavy lifting with his son who still lives at home and his daughter who, fortunately for him, is an accountant, successful, is able to live in an apartment in Brooklyn, and can take care of herself and has been in a long committed relationship. I'd say that's a sign of a pretty good dad.
Yeah.
So we see a fruition of this goal that Avery is looking for. But I like Nana's commentary about how they like young people today don't understand the meaning of a relationship, and it's not supposed to be like I need this and I feel that. It's funny. This is where we get like the lewd aspect of Nana. She's like,
Yeah.
I was together. Your pops and I were together since we were 12. That's 59 years, and you know how we did it? Because we chose to. That and the fact that your grandfather was an excellent lover, hung like a horse, that man, and then cut off by the rest of the family. Pure good Cloris Leachman type of delivery you could imagine there.
Yes. Yeah. That'd be a fun character to watch.
It is. So,
A good.
all right. So I'll throw it back to you, Jake. Like, what after Avery discovers this book, discovers what her mom did, what does Avery do to follow up?
She decides she wants to do her own list,
Right.
and well, it goes. I sorry.
No, it's okay.
It goes to her work first, but or did you want me to talk about how I felt about the family meetup?
Let's talk more about the family meetup because the work scene
Oh, okay.
the work scene is just an establishing scene.
Yeah.
It's not really
Okay.
plot motivated, so we'll skip that part and we'll jump to our friends afterwards. But I want to hear more on your thoughts on the family dynamic because um, it's familiar, but it's got its own flavor to it.
I like, yeah, it's familiar. Things did get twisted up a little bit to give you a little bit of excitement, also to add some humor that plays very well. I liked the undertone of it was you have three generations of, I guess, what you would call successful marriages and successful families. And so, in a way, that you can look at it as Marty and Janet at an early age decided to break up rather than get married, go through a midlife crisis, have a horrible divorce, and probably because they were raised in a stable family. And even though the grandma's quite a character, so I like that, and it really leads to Avery wanting to analyze where she's at, even though she hadn't even heard about her mom and her 7 guys that you date before you get married. She was already questioning why aren't things moving forward, and without stating it, it shows that she came from a very good family, multi-generational, still there for each other, and it played well, set up the character, and was pretty true to what we know about this character so far.
Yeah, I think so as well.
She's pretty innocent though,
Yeah.
as a and that. But that's kind of how romantic comedies love to set up their protagonist as somebody just living in that. I want the
The
prince to
fantasy.
come rescue me,
Yeah.
or whatever. So I mean, and I like that. I'm good with that because that's you kind of have to have that. That's why the cynical friends or the you know everybody else that they play off of works so well.
Yeah, like to your point, I think I think when you have a protagonist that, because there's two types of romantic comedy or romantic film protagonists. There's the one that is waiting for Mr. Right to show up, and then there's the other one going out there looking for Mr. Right.
Mhm.
And we're here where someone's going out there looking for Mr. Right, but done so uniquely,
Yeah,
based on this Cosmo list, which I don't know. I don't know how reliable was Cosmo when it came to advice in the 80s and 90s. Are they still a magazine today? I don't know. None of my girlfriend and neither do any of my female friends or my sister read those types of magazines today. Mostly it's like TikTok advice, which I think is probably exponentially worse.
yeah, I would say it's probably worse. Yeah, I
um,
mean, it kind of reminds me of 13 going on 30, where
yeah,
the teenage girl's getting all of advice from how these magazines write how adult women are. In all reality, they're just appealing to the young.
appealing to the young or shaping the young to like this is how you
Yeah,
should be as an adult, and it's
yeah.
a lot of immaturity. I mean, I mean, I don't know about you, but I was 21 when I realized that every adult I ever had to look up to or listen to was really just flying by the seat of their pants and didn't know what it meant to be an adult. Like that's when I started figuring it out, and then I realized, oh man, so I'm always gonna feel like this. Like I'm always gonna be figuring out something new every every time a new obstacle faces me. Um, I'm going to be presented as an adult, but am I really an adult at the end of the day? Probably not until I'm like a few hours away from checking out. you know, close pushing 100 hopefully, and it's like, oh, I get it. This is exactly how you be an adult. But then again, I know a number of people over the age of 80 who still act like children with dirty jokes and just having fun with life. And it's like, man, there is no such thing as adulthood, is there?
I always say the best people in life are the people who still remember what it's like to be a kid,
Yeah.
because that's when you looked at everybody with the best in the world, and never lose that. That's, I mean, not a quick aside. I saw William Shatner last week, 94,
Yep.
and just talking about curiosity.
Oh man, that's the best trait to find in a person.
Yep.
People who have curiosity, who just want to learn something.
Yeah, a big part of his panel was on that. It was hilarious. It was hilarious. But that's what it reminds me of.
Yeah.
That's why he's still so. That's why he's thriving so much. Genetics, whatever, but the mind. You can't live without the mind, and that mind's gotta always
Be
be
active. Yeah.
like an active, wanting to learn.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to derail.
No, that's a great one
It reminded
because
me of.
well, to segue into the learning aspect, we go to the farmer's market. We skip over Avery's job. Her job's boring. We don't care.
It is.
It's 2 pages. It's 1.5 pages. It's boring. It would
Yeah.
introduce us to a potential suitor. We'll get back to that later when it matters. For now, we're going to
But
be.
it was a good scene for setup. Yeah. But
It's
yeah.
it's a good scene for a setup.
For
One
the
thing it is
point of
missing.
this.
It's got an okay payoff because it's a contrast that one thing we learned with Avery, and I think the script is trying to imply that it might be a little bit of a flaw, but I don't know for certain. But Avery's been an accountant with this one firm for 8 years, and it's kind of there's a new girl coming in who she's not an accountant, but she's part of like a sales team, and she's surprised that someone has been at a career for 8 years. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, there's nothing wrong with having a career in the same place for a long time. Um, the only thing that's wrong is if you don't learn anything from that.
Yeah. He topped out at 4 years or something.
Yeah, like
Wow.
I remember, I one of my girlfriend's clients, um, one of the general managers that she has to coordinate with, has worked at that company since he was 14 years old, and he's like 65 now, and he has no idea how competitive businesses run. Because he only ever worked for one business. So he has no idea how the competitors operate or do anything. He only ever sees the results. He doesn't see the how-tos. And he can't imagine the how-tos. And so at least every 2 weeks or so, I will come home. My girlfriend will have just closed her laptop and let out this huge sigh. And I know exactly who she spoke with and how she was trying to tell him about this market strategy to reduce losses and how he just doesn't get it. Because he's never worked anywhere else in his life before. Like he went through college, stayed at the same job all the way through. He worked his way all the way up to the general manager, which kudos for that, but only knows how that business runs. Doesn't know how the market of that business runs at all. Like, he knows how radio ads work. He knows how YouTube ads work. He knows how commercial ads work. He doesn't know how to do spectacles, strategies, properly advertise sales across different platforms to hit different demographics, to expand customer. He doesn't know any of that stuff. He doesn't even know how to do the logistics of when you run a sale to make sure that you're not eating too much into your margins. so every time I get home, she's like, I can't believe that. Like, I can't believe this part. Other clients, she's like, yeah, sometimes there's clients that have two or three jobs, but the 2 or 3 jobs, the first ones they had, like 2 or 3 years at a place, and then they're lifers to their current place now. Like, they've been there 15, 20 years. And she's like, huge dramatic difference, right? Now, we live in a society today, it's more like a gig economy, where no one really hangs on to a job for more than a couple years at a time. It's almost unheard of.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that, I don't understand what that is, because are they moving the jobs because they want to explore different areas of their skill set? Are they moving from the job because there's better money somewhere else? Or is it a turnover with the company where the company's not holding on to people for more than a few years because maybe they don't want those long, benefits or have to contribute to a large pension over a long term? Like, we don't know 100% because the market itself has changed more to service and digital than anything else. And here's Megan, who is in this script, has had an 11-year relationship with the same guy, had an 8-year job, and there's 2 points of criticism to each one. The 11-year relationship should have progressed to a marriage, to start a family. And the 8-year career is like, that should be something good. It's stable. You're good at it. There's still always room for growth. But when you have the new hire saying, wow, 8 years ago, I was still in high school. It's like, ugh. It's like,
it was more played to set age than
that. Really, and then there's a payoff. It's like, if I'm here at 8 years, kill me. Like, there's someone who said that. And it's like, oh my God. I don't know. Like, listen, I love working on new jobs and new projects all the time, but I have way more fun when I'm with people that I've worked with before, because there's kind of like a community there. I have had done like gigs before, like outside of it, and I hated the breaking the ice windows. Like, the first 2 weeks where you're trying to get to know everybody and learn the policies and learn the schlocky stuff of the job. It's like, that stuff doesn't interest me. It's like, you kind of feel like you're on eggshells, and I hate that. And where I go onto a show, if I know that there's 2 or 3 people I've worked with before, and there's a chance that they've worked with another different 2 or 3 people, we can bridge that divide within hours, and then everything just works in sync. And then when I would talk to some of my friends who have been in places for like 10 or 15 years, they're like, yeah, I love my job. I go in, I know everybody. When we bring in new people, we guide them into success, et cetera, et cetera. Don't have to worry about all that awkwardness and stuff. And I think it goes into an interesting flaw with Megan, where not only is she trying to relive her mom's story, but even though Noah has a state of arrested development with their relationship, does she have a state of arrested development with her accounting job?
Yeah.
So that's a pretty fascinating aspect here. But this all comes to play when we are physically introduced to Megan and Ellis at the farmer's market. And of course, they're going through the 7 archetypes from the 1980s, and that's the jock, the nerd, the burnout, um, the man you think is the one, the one that is the one, and then like the jerk, yeah,
Yeah.
the one that's just going to use you. I think that's
Yeah.
7. I
One,
I think it's the
two,
prep. The
three.
prep was the other one, yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, these archetypes don't exist today,
Oh.
or at least not.
But a version of them does. They're just renamed.
Yeah, so there's similarities. They're just renamed to something else.
Yeah.
And so there's there's comedic banter here, but there was also an interesting flaw, which is that Avery is presenting her position among her friends as if the reason she and Noah are not living together anymore is that they have technically broken up, and that Avery still misses him. And if I'm not mistaken, she's the one that walked out on him. So yeah, she can still
Yes,
miss
she
him,
did.
but it
It
feels
was
like to me that she's treating it like Noah ended things as not her.
Yes, and at one point, Megan is supportive of her breaking up, and then the next point, she was kind of going, "I'm gonna." She wanted to go back, or she was, "Why did you break up with him?" And then at another point, she was going, I'm gonna call Noah." And she's like, "No, you're not.
Right.
You're gonna date those guys." And so there was a little bit of play back and forth that was a little bit okay. I had to reread it? Go, did I miss that?
Yeah, I was in that point too. I'm like, wait a minute, you've given me a different context here, because she chose to leave because Noah wasn't ready for commitment.
Yep.
But now she's saying, "Oh, I really miss him and I want to get back together." It's like, okay, I understand the craziness that women can have. It's fair, but the rest of the story is kind of reinforcing that at this point, especially between the two friends. And I think it would work better to the favor of her, instead of saying I want Noah back, saying I'd rather be with Noah than try to go date again. And maybe I can tolerate, waiting another 11 years before he proposes, because that shows fear.
Yeah.
And it doesn't quite show regret, because what we're seeing here from her is regret, which doesn't make much sense. But if it showed fear, and then it's her best friend saying, "You know what, you got to get over that fear," and the way you do that is you start dating guys. Now, I will say there's a sweet undertone to Avery's journey here, and that is all she wants to do is really just date. She doesn't want to actually go all the way.
Yeah.
Her friends are telling her she's got to do that, so there's peer pressure
Yes.
involved. But really, she just doesn't want to go that level.
Yeah, she really does still represent the innocent girl just looking for Prince Charming
Yes, and
that these shows play on.
yeah. Now, again, what's funny is that they come up with their own versions. The modern Avery's version of the 7 guys date before marriage. So you have like the guy from work, which then goes back to well, it's going to imply a guy from her work, but we'll go through the basics here. You have the guy who worked, the guy who's a total a-hole, the guy for sex, the
Yep.
guy who's not a guy, so it's a woman, the older guy, the younger guy, and then the guy you thought was the one. That should be 7, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll count them. 1, 2, 3,
4,
4.
5, 6, 7. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
And so, guys out there, we're going to truncate this in 7s, in the 7. So of course, there's, Megan goes on Hinge, and she sets up her dating profile, which is pretty basic. And she gets messages right away, and of course she gets an illicit pic almost immediately. That's her
Yeah.
rite of passage, so to speak.
And did she say anybody who sends those, it gets sent to their mother? That
Yeah,
was
those
funny.
things get sent to the mother.
Looks like that one's sent to her mother or his mother.
Yeah.
And signing up for that and saying, "Okay, what's your mother's number? Because anything inappropriate you send is going to her."
Right. Excuse me. And then she gets like a message, and the guy's like, "Hey, cutie, what's your story?" And so she thinks for a second, and then starts typing out, newly out of an 11-year relationship with my college sweetheart. It's definitely been hard. I had to move out of the apartment we shared and I'm currently crashed on my friend's couch, but excited about the prospect of dating again. After a moment, the person that matched with her just unmatched her.
I really love that. That set that up so perfectly.
Yes. I mean, I knew as soon as I started reading her line for the story, I'm like, I know exactly what the ending is going to be, and it's going to be so worth it. And it happened. Now, conversely, I also would have liked it to be like, me too. And then Avery starts to think for a minute, it's like, oh, wait, no, I don't want that.
Oh, that would have been good too. How do you feel when you watch movies and there are tropes playing out in front of you? Do you feel like, oh, I've seen this, so I don't want to see it? Or does it go by if the actor's great?
Mm-hmm.
Do you just go, you're into it? I mean, is it all based on the quality of the show? If it's like kind of low quality or no somebody you've never heard of, you're less patient to work through something you've seen before, a stereotype or a trope.
It depends on how familiar the execution is, right? Because sometimes we can appreciate a trope that we've seen before if it's done specifically to that story. Like this one here.
That's true. If it feels like it has its own voice.
It feels like it's its own thing. I mean, yeah. We can easily identify a trope, which is, the typical trope. Two people are talking in an office. Person interrupts and says, "Hey, you got to come see this," and then they just all get up and leave. Like everybody does that exactly the same way. It's the most boring thing ever. However, if I were to be writing a story like that, and we had two people in a room talking, and I wanted them to be interrupted by someone saying, "Hey, you got to see this," I'd probably have a human body be thrown through a glass window and land in front of those two, and the person that is landed in front of the two is laughing, and he says, "Hey, you guys got to come with me and see this," because we now have an effect that we have to go back and find out what is the cause.
Yeah.
Right? Like I've shown you something that is kind of crazy and out of left field, and it's not just, "Hey, you got to see this." It's like, I don't care. Why do I have to see this? You've given me nothing to do. There's just a guy walks in or a girl walks into a room and says, "Hey, you got to see this." That does not pique my curiosity. But if you have someone being thrown through like an office window and lands between two people talking, and he laughs and says, "Hey, you got to come see what's going on out there," I'm like, now I want to know what's going on out there.
Yeah, I guess that's true. And I guess the reason that I ask you that is because I feel like to this point, let's just say a rom-com has structure and has all these points, and right now it's just hitting all those points. It's being built on that foundation. So I guess it's not good and bad. It has to be there, but if you can find a creative way, anyway. That's how I'm seeing it by this point.
One of the aspects of this script that gets pretty derivative is that most of the men that she meets is through the online app.
Uh-huh.
And I understand that to a degree is a commentary on society. Like we date through social media now, which is kind of frightening. but it does get repetitive and it gets kind of boring because I don't know about you, Jake, but for me, there were about three men out of that 7 that I could not distinguish because I could not remember their impact because we all met them through the Hinge app.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. It would have helped separate them when they had some certain similarities.
Yeah.
And
because oh gosh, because there's the douchey guy, the guy for sex, and then the young guy. They all meet through the Hinge app, and I can't exactly remember which ones are which and which events she went with them because there's nothing interestingly distinct about them aside from their physicality, and the physicality would kind of vanish because it went straight dialogue, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not even sure I'm able to properly recall all those parts. But but of course Avery is really bad at the dating game. Ellis decides to help her out because, he knows what men want. And he sets her up for like 3 dates in that night, and now she just has to pick what she wants. And of course she picks a guy for sex, and you can tell it's a guy for sex because in the Hinge profile he says for sex only. And this is the one that stood out the most, only because it it mocks the type of beta male that we see on the social media. So she meets a guy in a bar for sex. He's kind of charming, he's kind of good looking, but he's a little pretentious. And after a little bit, they said, okay, let's go to my place. And she's like, yeah, okay. But she's still drinking because she's, nervous. However, before she can get her third drink, he stops her. He says, hey. Yeah, I don't do that. Two drinks is fine, but three more than that is intoxication, and I don't sleep with anyone who's intoxicated.
Yeah. And it was a bit so clinical of like, well, this you're gonna kill this right now.
Yeah.
This can't move further. That was kind of funny.
And so
it is like a parody of it.
It is like a parody of it because it escalates, and I thought this was kind of a good joke because he takes her back to his place. He's got a sex dungeon. Before he engages anything, he hands her a contract, which is a consent form that requires 2 signatures and an initial. And she signs it, and then we get into this rhythm of something that I've only ever heard happens. I've never known it to actually happen, other than a couple of lady friends I know who got really upset by this. But the guy says, "Oh, may I kiss you?" She's like, "Yeah, sure." He's like, "Oh, may I kiss your neck?" "Yeah, of course." May I unbutton your shirt?" "Yeah." Like he's asking permission to do every single move, and it's getting on her nerves to the point where she says, "How about this? Unless I say no, do whatever you want." and then he's like, "Okay." And then they start making out and getting into the early stages of foreplay, and then he's like, I'm gonna take you to the bed. And she says, no. He's like, no, you don't want to do this? She's like, no, take me to the swing. And because there's a sex swing in there. Again, sex dungeon.
Yeah.
And so she hops onto the swing, having never been on one before, and ends up wiping out and essentially spraining her arm. So killing the mood. So I thought, okay, that's not bad. And the other part too is I like the fact that there's an essence like that, the innocent, the damsel in distress type of aspect is held on to for this. So she's not presenting herself as someone that is promiscuous, even though she's putting herself in situations to try and get over that fear so that she can figure out, is she going to find the man of her dreams? And I kind of liked that because we wouldn't appreciate Avery if it was easy for her to jump in bed with the next guy that she meets.
Yes, even though the opportunities just kept.
Well, the opportunities always keep presenting themselves,
Yeah.
Because especially in today's society, a semi-attractive woman can get a lot of attention on the dating websites compared to men. I remember seeing that a number of viral videos where women are like, I pretended to be a guy on a social media on a dating website, and no one responded to my messages, but I would get, no one would respond to my messages. Yet when I would be a girl on there, I'd be getting hundreds a day.
Yep.
And it's like, well, yeah, that's how it works. We men look at women differently than women look at men. Live with it. You got, like, what else can you do?
Yeah, I mean, we figured that out early on, and that's why we go never give up.
That's right. That's also why we play sports early on. We learn how to have targets when we throw a ball or hit a puck or kick a ball. It's like, yeah, if we can figure out what a target is, we can then apply that methodology to anything else we want to do. But we then get introduced to this kind of pop-up character, and this one I think the character's name needs to change, because the character that pops up a couple times is named Brooks. So you have Avery and Brooks, and Avery Brooks is an actor known for Benjamin Sisko on Star Trek.
Avery Brooks.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was like,
Right.
you can't do that. I'm sorry. Just give him another name. Because I kept on thinking of Deep Space Nine whenever Brooks would come in to play.
That's funny. I didn't make that connection.
That's all right.
That's fun.
But Avery Brooks is, I liked how he was introduced because it's a meet cute introduction.
Yeah.
Avery is she's walking out of an establishment of some sort, and she's not paying attention, and she bumps into Brooks. She falls down. Brooks helps her up, and is like, "Hey, okay, I hope you're all right. You know, hey, you're kind of cute. Maybe you should swing by the restaurant I work at. It'd be nice." And
Oh,
yeah, go ahead.
sorry, I remember that because she was actually meeting one of the guys that was only for sex,
Only for sex, right?
and she was, and one of the things I really liked about her character was she stayed the same person in each interaction.
Mm-hmm.
She was experiencing it, and then you got to see her reaction. She runs out of there, and as she's running out of there, she says, "Okay, no guys, not a guy, only for sex."
Right.
And that's when she runs into him, and he goes, "Okay, no guy, only for sex," or whatever the
No
line
guy for
was.
sex. Got it. Something like that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was a really good meeting. Yeah, and I remember that because it stood out because that's what she was in the contrast of
Of the
she
bad date.
realized,
Yeah.
okay, I can't participate in this, not right now.
Yeah. Too early. Too early. And
Too
then
early.
and then of course Brooks, he has a very smooth line where he's like, I work right there at the restaurant. If you're ever looking for a guy, and then he's like, for sex or not, you know. And
Yep.
it's like, oh, look, that he's just made an implication that he's looking for something more than sex. Oh, could this be, the guy that's the one? And I will say props to Julia. Like, that is a good setup. You want your audience to see Avery's journey and see that type of potential. And I like how she plays with the Brooks character because he comes back a few more times. And of course, we in between all of these bad dates, we have Avery has purchased her own little black notebook, and she starts listing the pros and cons of each type.
Yep.
And they're very, very short, which makes it work. But what we then come back to, like, the dad commenting on this, he's like, why are you going to? You're not really going to be dating 7 different guys. And of course, Avery says, "Well, mom did it," and Marty's like, "Well, that was in the '80s. It was safer time." And Avery's like,
She
"The '80s saw
references
some of the
serial
highest
killers.
numbers of active serial killers in history." It's like, yeah, but they were all the worse. Those goofy. They all wore those goofy glasses, so it was easier to spot. I'm ordering you a pepper spray.
She ends up getting him. He ends up getting her 7
Yeah,
cans of
one
spray.
for every guy. So he's expecting her to empty the entire bottle. um, Now, like, then you get Nana, who says, like, there's nothing wrong with a woman experimenting with her sexuality as long as you don't have sex before marriage. Then she goes, but after marriage, that's a whole different story. Since your grandpa passed, I've been with 1, 2, 3, 2 again, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now that was a fun night. And you're
Yeah.
just like, what the heck, Nana? But that's goes into another trope of, grandma not being a prude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of, what was it, Beer Fest, where Cloris Leachman plays, like, great grandma, and she's like, let me warm up your sausage, and she grabs an actual sausage and just, like, warms it up in her hand in the most inappropriate manner you can think of.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that's such a funny thing because we all have grandmas,
Yeah.
and when they shock us or say something, we can all instantly relate to. I can't believe my grandma did that. I mean, I have.
Like, grandma, how inappropriate for you to use that language, say that thing, or make that suggestion.
Exactly. Yep.
Yes.
And we all experience it.
Yeah, and it's across a spectrum of bad things. Like, it's not what you
Yeah.
always expect. I just want to be the grandpa that just has a very dirty joke, but said in the most polite way that it takes them all a beat to realize it's a dirty joke.
It almost went undetected.
Exactly. It's like a silent but deadly joke.
A silent video.
But this takes us into, again, another type of quick cut of aspects. So, after she meets Brooks, you think, okay, she's gonna follow up with him. No, she doesn't. She ends up getting a message from a young guy. I think his name's Dylan. He's 23, so 7 years younger than Avery. And they end up going out to a whole bunch of wild parties throughout Manhattan. One of them is a bingo night which is kind of like a big festival, kind of like a Moulin Rouge around bingo, so to speak. There's some
Yeah, and
drag
even
queens, there's some comedians, there's music, there's performing, lots of alcohol.
and she even wrote, "It's Google it,
Yeah, no, this is real.
it's a real thing." And I was like, "Well, I won't Google it. I trust you."
Yeah, I googled it. I didn't see anything of illicit activity, but it's like, yeah, lots
Oh
of
yeah,
younger people, kind of like looking at a rave, cheering, dressing, hands in the air, some holding bingo cards.
and that's the irony of it. Bingo, something you expect grandma to do, and that's funny. It was actually good a good event for him to go on a date.
I was almost expecting to see Nana show up in this scene.
Yeah,
Just after that previous thing of like being with all those guys, is like, if Nana's there, that would be something.
she was in every scene the movie would have. Every she encounters Nana at every one of the dates. That would
Yeah,
have been
like if there's a rating system on Hinge and Nana was like in the top 1% of like people,
fun.
like that would have been hysterical.
Everybody knew her Nana.
Yeah. Um,
Hard to get in though.
but so of course Avery's got a little black book and she writes prose. So much fun. And then they're up all night. She has to work in 2 hours. So does Dylan. And then of course it gets to the cons, which is like the hangovers. So she's
Hangover.
she's at work. She's getting through the day, and she decides, you know what, let's go on a date with my coworker Joaquin. And they do a lunch date. And of course, the pros are easy to meet, for the coworker, right?
Yeah.
And so they decide to have a beautiful lunch date in Central Park. And it does go pretty well. We find out Joaquin's a bird watcher, and he's really good. He's got hobbies. He does juggle a lot of phones, but he's, pretty nice. And as things are kind of getting a little bit intimate, they're sharing binoculars to kind of find like a fun little some rare birds that are in the park. And then Avery, she's looking at something and it doesn't look like a bird, and she pulls out to realize that's a bare foot. And then you find out that there's a dead body in the tree somewhere. And I'm not meaning to laugh at that. Just that's
Yeah.
one heck of a way to ruin a date. Is to,
I
is to
didn't see that
discover a
coming.
dead body in Central Park, which is kind of a thing that happens a little more often than it ever should.
Yeah.
And this is where they did something that I think was out of character for the tone of the script. And that is
Yes.
they bring in Ice-T and his co-star from Law and Order or Special Victims Unit or whatever the cop drama is. So they're playing those characters from that show.
Yeah.
And I think that just ruined the immersion for me, because that's more like a National Lampoon's level type of thing as opposed to like an indie rom-com.
When I stopped right there, I went, okay, did I miss something? Is this a parody?
Yeah.
I went, it hasn't felt like a parody, but so I started to think back. Okay, is everything, because I mean she's going, so the tropes can kind of be a parody.
Yeah.
It's like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, grandma's definitely a
Pushing
twist.
the edge here.
Yeah, but I'm like, no, it's not a parody. But I'm like, okay, yeah, that really took me out of it. It was a funny line, not the body count you were hoping. That was a funny line, but if it was only done to add that line to bring you into something else, not worth the jarring effect that it has.
Yeah, because it was what, Mariska Haggerty. So yeah, it's Law and Order SVU, and they're doing that. They had the one line, which I think it's a good line, but just doesn't work for this one, which is, okay, identified male, late 50s with multiple stab wounds in the abdomen. He was found in the bramble by a couple on their first date. Ice-T, I guess that wasn't really the body count they had in mind. It's like,
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, body count hadn't even gotten into. You had to do work to go, oh, body count to first date. Maybe they discussed that. I don't know. So yeah, it was a little jarring.
It was a little jarring, and then we get this a late introduction to a subplot for Megan as a character, because she's dating this girl named Skylar, and it's going well. But also, I think like I think Megan is kind of like a real estate agent or something, or she
Yeah.
throws like high level parties.
Yeah. It was her first listing.
I think so.
Yeah, or like she was doing an open house or something.
Like she
I
was in a luxury apartment, and they were trying to like talk it up against a bunch of agents and other people that this is an
Right.
interesting place. Like all three of them are doing that, and so this
Oh, it
starts.
is
Yeah, go ahead.
prospective buyers.
Prospective buyers, right? Yeah,
Yep.
and and this is where Megan is trying to hide the fact that this Skylar woman that she's just started dating is like the entire package for her.
Hmm.
And at the same time, she's also trying to encourage Avery to like keep at it. Like you're gonna find the guy, and she even says like maybe you should start looking at the older men. And she's like, well, how do you calculate what's the older men? It's like you take your age, you multiply it by 4, divide by 3, then add your age on again, and it's like 67 or
Yeah.
something like that.
That's older than my dad.
Yeah, that's also a little bit creepy. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, age is just a number, but age gap. There are some
Yeah.
that are acceptable, and then there's some that are pushing it.
Yep.
But this is where we get introduced to the white-haired man named Henry, who is essentially like a Clooney-esque type of guy,
Yeah.
and they end up hitting it off. Henry is very wealthy, so that's where Avery puts in the cons. Like older guys, lots of money. Pro, lots of money. And they end up going on a few dates, helicopter ride, and then a private room at a museum because he owns all the art that is on display there. So he gets that corner off that area for the date. And then he invites her up to his house in the Hamptons because, of course, he has one. Everybody who's rich has a house in the Hamptons, apparently, except for me. Of course, I'm not rich, so.
Those
And this takes us to a funny conversation. I kind of like this conversation because it's got an honest aspect to it, which is Avery is really apprehensive because she's thinking, well, if I say yes to go up to his house in the Hamptons, does that mean I have to sleep with him? And of course, Megan and Ellis and even Skylar in sync say, well, of course, yes, you have to. Like that's the intention is to go away to a private home in the Hamptons.
Mm-hmm.
and Avery is like, I don't know. And so she goes through the checklist with them, like, do you like him? Yes. Is he attractive? Very. Okay, what's the problem? And she's like, I'm still nervous. And that just made me endearing to her.
Yeah.
And it's like there's the strange attractor, I'd say, out of the common type of rom-coms here, is that you have a main character who she's looking for something more than just the physical. And
Yeah.
like the physical is helping, but it's not enough to push her over the edge to full commitment. And it's like, well, this is something that's kind of out of character for these types of scripts that have circulated around, especially a few of the ones that we've read on the show, especially like the body swapping scripts, where the experience itself is more important than the underlying goal behind underlying goal. So what we have here is we have this aspect of the script where we as the audience are wondering, so long as she doesn't sleep with another man, she has technically not betrayed Noah. And if this is a story that's going to be getting us seeing Avery and Noah get back together, we want to make sure we don't have that heavy romantic detour that could be something that could compromise that reunion, right?
Right.
And I'm thinking to myself, like, this, the writer Julia is, she knows her genre.
Yeah.
And she knows what we're looking for. It's the whole like, what is it? Anna Faris and Chris Evans in the "What's My Number" movie type of thing, or is it Lindsay Lohan and Chris Evans in "Just My Luck," or Anna de Armas and Chris Evans in Ghosted? Chris Evans does a lot of romantic comedies that nobody watches.
Yes. A lot of women recognize him, but
Yeah,
no.
but like we've got this type of different set of things. What's also funny is like before she goes to the Hamptons, she's invited to a Yankees game in a private box, and she ends up seeing, I guess, the young guy that she went on a date with
Dylan.
earlier, who's in the cheap seats. You know, clearly drunk. Maybe he's got a little white powder under his nose, and his behavior, while he's enjoying himself and his friends are enjoying himself, is kind of ruining the experience around everyone else. And then when Henry's like, "Well, what do you think of the view?" Avery's remarks like things are look more mature from up here, and that has this has unintentional double meaning because Avery's commenting on the immaturity of the guy that she'd been on a date with earlier, and Henry has complete reason to infer that she's making a commentary on his age.
True.
But he doesn't take offense to it. He's just
Yeah.
a little confused,
He
but then
knows
he's like,
what it is.
whatever.
Yeah. He knows what he's in it for. He's actually pretty open with her, and what we get to see is if she were to choose him, it's going against everything that she wants. Because
Yeah.
he's just somebody's like, I've worked a lot of jobs, I've lived in a lot of countries, I've been married a few times.
Hmm.
I'm not afraid to change. In fact, I embrace it.
Yeah.
And so you're going, okay, you accept, okay, she's just here for the experience of it. And now she's put in that situation where she's going, I kind of have to do something I'm not ready to do. It's like
Yeah.
that. Uh, it's that, well, I got to see this through
Yeah.
or
Do I see
stop
this
doing what
through
I'm
or do I
doing.
walk away? Like that's her predicament. I think that's a great predicament to have.
And they set that up well, too. Because after the game, I won't jump ahead,
Well,
but
we won't jump that far ahead, but after the game, she gets a message. Avery gets a message on Hinge, and who's the person that messaged her this time?
it's Noah.
That's right. And
And
yeah,
then,
and it's like, have you swiped right today? And that throws Avery off a little bit because she realizes, oh my god, Noah's on Hinge too. He's looking for someone else,
yep,
which means how far is he going? Has he met or been with any other women in the in time? So now she's got this doubt, and she's wondering like, has will this lead us back together, or have we already now completely gone apart and it's not happening? Like we don't know, and Avery doesn't know, and she's now in denial that she's in a breakup, and she's letting her imagination go wild. And of course, what does Megan do? She's like, "Don't worry about it. You're on a date with Henry guy. See where that goes. Maybe it's just something to kind of explore a little. And if he's doing it and you're doing it, then it's already happened." And she's trying to be encouraging,
yeah,
and she's doing so in a kind of a crude way because she's basically saying maybe it's finally time to spread your legs and fly.
especially like the fly. Yeah, there was a couple of good lines there.
Yeah,
That
this script
no,
does have a number of one-liners that I think work well with the comedic tone that
yeah,
Julia's going here. It's a little bit more on the sassy side,
yeah,
but that works for your audience that appreciates sassy humor, especially
yeah,
rom-coms.
yes. You got to have the variety of the people and the way they interact, and the language is justified.
That's one thing I will say that the hair, aside from most of the dates that Avery goes on, Megan, Skylar, Ellis, Marty, Nana, Noah, Avery, those characters have very distinct voices.
They do.
Um, so Jake, okay, I want to throw this one to you because I want you to describe some of the beats, some of the thoughts you had where Henry and Avery are together alone at Henry's house during sunset in the Hamptons.
Yeah, I like that because at that point she's decided that well, okay, well, if Noah's on Hinge, he's probably doing that too, and so she's committing to it as far at least by going because she knows what is expected.
Hmm.
And they go to the house, and he's impressing her with wine and showing her how to sip it and how to taste it, and she definitely seems like a fish out of water
Hmm.
in more ways than she's in a rich man's home, and she's not rich. Older man, she's young, and then also he's there for a purpose, and she's clearly not, and so everything's playing into that, how uncomfortable she is. And as their makeout sessions growing more and more intense, you could see it coming, couldn't you?
Oh yeah.
He's just like, oh, has a heart attack and dies.
And dies right before he gets to the good stuff.
Yep. And I really like that because they've been very creative.
Hmm.
She was very creative of how she gets her character out of these situations that keeps her in contention for still getting back with Noah.
Right.
As we as the audience see, okay, this hasn't went too far.
And it's basically it's playing with the writer's hand by saying the universe is not letting
Yes.
Avery commit to another man yet. I'm like,
Yep.
it's like I as the writer want to make people think that Avery and Noah still have a chance, and
Yep.
I don't want them to know if they do or not until X page, and with the way that he does it with Henry, or she does it with Henry, it's brilliant because he seduces her by teaching her how to sip wine. Um, as they're making out, he's gentle. He's hitting all the zones that she likes. That's kind of like overwhelming her, and
Oh
she's
yeah.
all ready to
She's
go. And then all of a sudden, he clutches his chest and winces, and then Henry's no more.
and see that's another thing that sets up well because yeah, she's nervous, not ready. And then when she's finally okay, I'm good to go, that's when it gets taken away from her. That adds a good comedic element.
And what's hysterical is that like he dies on top of her, which is a trope, but
Oh,
you know it works.
oh yeah.
And then we cut to the church where she's at the funeral. The priest is giving a eulogy, and Avery, Megan, and Ellis are there as patrons to pay their respects, and we find out that Henry was a lot older than he looked like. He was pretty much he was born in '64, so he was about 62, 63 years old, and then as they're about to when Avery realizes how old he actually was, she lets out the JC,
Yeah.
and from off screen, Nana says, "Shh, you leave Jesus out of it." Avery turns to see Nana, who's dressed to kill, like
Yep.
looking gorgeous, and she's whispering like, "What are you doing here?" And Nana says, "Well, after your grandfather died, Henry and I connected." And then she follows up with, "Played me like a piano, that man. Rest in peace, my prince." And you're just like, and and that's what made me think earlier is like Nana should have shown up at the bingo.
Yes.
Like
She should have
that
been a bingo.
should be the running gag, is that anytime there's some sort of crazy event where you're supposed to meet people of all types, Nana's there.
Yep.
Like she shouldn't be dating through Hinge. Nana should be her wing girl.
Yep. Or even just an image or somebody knew her picture and she's like, what's my Nana doing? You have a picture of my Nana. Just there's many different ways to do it.
Yeah. It's like
Yeah.
everybody loves Nana. She doesn't even want us to know her real name. She always says, "Call me Nana." Like that's
Yep.
excuse me. So this, of course, Avery uses this justification of, okay, if she was ready for Henry, maybe she's just ready for the guy for sex. So
Yep.
this is where, we get into the whole, like, she tries to be with the guy for sex. It doesn't work. She's like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah, the guy you were talking about.
This is the guy, like, getting injured in bed. But oddly enough, the same thing happens again where she's really depressed. She doesn't think this is right. She finds herself, oddly enough, deciding to say, like, let's do the guy who's not a guy. And she ends up meeting Hannah, who's like cute with a pixie cut, and they're at a comedy show, which I think is a great venue for a date. I mean, for anyone out there, if you want a very affordable and great time, comedy clubs are cheaper than movies. They're cheaper than mini golf. Usually, like, the cover to get in is cheaper, typically cheaper than a movie ticket, and then of course you've got the food, which you'd be spending in concessions on a movie anyways. But you've also got anywhere from 2 to 4 hours of a number of different stand-up comics with different types of humor, doing their best to try and entertain you and make you laugh. And
Yep.
there's a lot less reservation on speech in a good comedy club like the Comedy Cellar or the Top Hat Comedy Club or Yuck Yucks for another one. Like check those out. Those are great. I like the fact that here in The script you get, oh yeah, comedy club. That's a good place for a date. And so,
You want to know if someone has a sense of humor.
yes, or at least get a sense of what their sense of humor is. Like, what's the genre area that they like? Do they like observational humor? Do they like political humor? Do they like one-liners, silly stories that are clearly fiction but designed to make you laugh? Whatever it is, that helps get a lot. Of course, this Hannah and Avery actually have a really strong connection. They kind of hit it off, and Hannah takes Avery to her apartment. And of course, Avery is just alarmed by like how her lips are so soft when she kisses her. And she's like, is this what it's like to kiss me? And then this is where Hannah realizes, okay, this is clearly your first time with a girl. And she's like, yeah. And Hannah's like, well, there's nothing wrong with that, but I have this rule with straight girls. I've met enough tourists, and of course she's like, okay, so these are like sexual tourists, gotcha. She's like, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just looking for something more, something meaningful, something that could lead to a real relationship. And of course, this is what Avery's looking for too. And so they feel like there's a connection. So Hannah says, okay, well, this is the rule that I have. You start with me, knowing full well that I'm going to repeat on you, and we'll see where this goes. And Avery's like, okay, great. I'm not afraid of this. It's my anatomy too. And she starts to proceed and can't go through with it because she's scared.
She realizes it's not for her.
Yeah, she's like saying, like, who am I kidding? Vaginas are terrifying. Like she's just like, I cannot do this. This is not for me. And then she storms out, and Hannah, of course, says every effing time.
And she had some good lines, and they keep going too. That's what I thought was funny.
Yeah, and this is where she's she's running out of the apartment. She bumps into something unseen, only for it to be Brooks again, who's charmingly says, "You got to stop running into each other like this," and this is where he manages to get her to like exchange numbers, and now they start to date, and it's regular dates. And Avery's a really charming guy.
Before we jump onto that, I did really like how you asked, what were you doing? I was on a bad date. Oh, who's the lucky guy? Oh, not a guy, actually. He's like, whoa, I'm suddenly not offended that you didn't come by. Yeah. She's like, no, I know I don't like it. And what's pretty close to vaginas was so funny. But what's funny about it is through this exchange, they exchange numbers. She's super excited, and it ends with Hannah up in the window, oversees the whole thing, and goes, every time, effing straight girls. Really, yeah, straight girls. And that was a really good setup and payoff throughout that whole exchange. It was actually quite funny.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to jump too far ahead of my idea, but I think when you have a romantic comedy and somebody's playing it all, I've been with one person, or somebody, and I'm innocent, I'm naive. There's a stretch to how far people's openness will be when they're naive.
Right.
It's contradictory, but that was a funny scene. It almost pushed me back to parody. Is this a parody?
I mean, it's not the only time we have shouts from off screen occur that are commenting on what's happening there. But like this one here, right. This is an interjection by a character that says a lot about this character, because she says, like, she clearly, Hannah has had an experience where every time she's on a date with someone, turns out to not really be a lesbian. It turns out to be a straight girl who's just trying to experiment, and she doesn't feel like she doesn't like being used.
Yes.
And this gives us depth to that character, because she's like, I am not someone that's promiscuous. I am literally looking for someone to spend the rest of my life with, and all I'm getting are straight women that are wasting my time.
Yeah. It was a lot of information for a character.
And done in a very efficient time, and it's also a running theme here, right? Because what's Avery looking for? She's looking for marriage. Hannah's looking for marriage. You have Megan, who is not looking for marriage but has found someone that is definitely tempting her. You've got Ellis, who wants to marry Anderson Cooper.
Not available.
Like, you've got this theme here of just finding that one and only type of thing.
Yes.
And it's all kind of being the writer's trying to lay it on, but at the same time distract with the concept of dating 7 different people in order to find that one. So she's kind of like playing a game of experimenting with the concept of promiscuity with but at the same time preventing Avery from actually being promiscuous, kind of like the opposite of what's that movie, Dane Cook sleeps with a lot of women, they get married to their true loves afterwards. Good Luck Chuck, that's the one, that opposite of that.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that.
Oh, don't.
Oh. Yeah. There are some that are like, okay, no.
Yeah. So we get to then see the follow up of this meet cute with Brooks, who he has this game where he's got like it's like pick your own adventure, so to speak. So he's got like 2 notes in his hand, closed fists. He holds them out. He's like, okay, you lady Avery, pick left or right, and we'll do that. And it takes them to the subway, which means that they're taking the scenic route to a ferry. And so they're on the water outside of New York, and they're doing the little ferry cruise there, which is a pretty romantic thing, which I've done with a girlfriend before, which I like to do again soon. And then it takes them to like the driving range, and they're not the best at shooting a bucket of balls. But yeah, like Brooks is kind of sharing her story about like the 7 guys, and Brooks is asking, oh, okay, so like who am I of that list? And she's like, I don't know, I haven't figured that out yet. And he's like, oh, okay, cool. And then Brooks says like, okay, but I know exactly what type you are. And she's like, oh, you do? He's like, yeah, what am I? He's like, you are 100% you are 100% without a doubt the type of girl who doesn't watch where they're going on the sidewalk.
I like that line.
And it's like,
And
dude, that's some good charm.
yeah. Yeah, I like that line.
So we end up finding out that Brooks and Avery have ended up dating for about 2 weeks now. And they're getting to that point where it's like, okay, so I think, Avery's really smitten with Brooks. Brooks seems like a great guy. And they decide that they're, going to get together. And they do. And they have a beautiful night. However, Avery, she wakes up alone in bed. But in the kitchen is a note with breakfast and coffee saying, like, he had to go leave early, but, wanted to make sure you had something to eat. And
she actually reacts positively to, like, oh, this night was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. But she definitely had set up, oh no, where is he? But was she in his place?
She hasn't put him on the list yet because she doesn't know what type of guy he is. Like, they're flirting with the idea that he might be the one,
Was she at his place?
Yeah, she was at his place, yeah.
Okay. Which is kind of always odd when you're at someone's house and the character wakes up and the person's gone. It's like, oh, where do I go now? You left me, But anyway.
But this also gets to like the other part of the running joke, which is fireworks go off when Avery and Brooks cook up. And of course, an angry neighbor says, like, if you guys light off any more fireworks, I'm calling the cops.
Yep.
So it's not. So they're playing into the trope of, like, as opposed to the allegory, it's like, no, literally fireworks are going off here. And then, but yeah, then she sees, like, the message. She's like, yeah, had to run, didn't want to wake you. B, here's a bagel, takeaway coffee. And of course, Avery's super excited, and she's like so happy. She's been with another guy, but she's been with another guy that's been great with her. They've been going out for a couple weeks. And then, well, Brooks is ghosting her.
You know what I didn't? One thing that I thought I mean, I was still into it, going, okay, yeah, all right, he's ghosting her. I can see it.
Yeah.
What bothered me about it, and I only caught it on the second read, was he contacted her,
Yep.
and then her replies. Then he started ghosting. Then he started changing. Like, okay, so when can I see you again? I think was his exact words.
Yeah,
And
he's
she's
like,
Wednesday,
when can I see you again? She's like, she's like, drinks on Wednesdays. Like, can't. How about Friday?
and
And
she's like, great. And then he's like, oh no, we have to
reschedule.
postpone. And it ran away from there into ghosting, and I was like, but why have him call her? She should have gotten a hold of him.
Well, I
It's not
think they're
weird that,
trying to play out the fact that he's making an effort to dissuade her,
yeah,
and so by the time she realizes that he's not wanting to see her again, it's too late. Like almost like
yeah,
a soft trying to put her out down, saying
yeah,
like, "Thank
okay,
you so much for the night. I'm not interested in this anymore." Which I mean, there's there's a number of reasons why that's the case. The script says that there isn't that that reason that typically is the reason is not the reason for a comedic joke. But essentially, what ends up happening is like, yeah, Avery is freaking out, but she ends up finding her way at the restaurant that that Brooks works at, and then he sees how Brooks interacts with all the ladies at the bar, whether it's the maitre d',
yeah.
the bartender, or a table of young girls. He is there, and she's getting drunk.
And he's even doing the choose your own adventure, pick a
Oh
hand.
yeah, she's doing all that, and of course she tries to get away without catching him, but ends up bumping into him because that's how she and he work. She bumps into him.
Yep.
And of course, she's freaking out, like, why'd you ghost me? We actually went to date, and I thought we were, having a good time. But he's like, oh, those weren't dates. We just hung out. And she's like, no, no, those are dates. And he's like, tomato, tomato. And she's like, this is not a BLT. We had sexual intercourse. and and of course, like she's pretty much just laying it out. Like you acted like you were serious about me, made me think like we could do more. It's like you just did this to get me into bed. And he's like, come on, don't give me that. After 11 years with the same guy, you were practically begging for it. She's like, no, I wasn't. Just um she's basically like, I thought you were the one, but turns out you're not the one. You're the guy who you thought the one was, what was the one, and also the total a-hole. And maybe I'm starting to realize people can be more than one thing. And then she's like, well, you're not as good at sex as you think you are. And then everybody in the restaurant kind of stares at her. She's like, that's not even true. He was great at sex. She's like, just flusters herself off.
Yeah.
And this, like, this takes her into like her lowest point. She ends up finding herself in front of her old apartment with Noah. She decides to pull out her key and go inside to see what Noah's doing. And this is where we're gonna cut it off here, because I'm not gonna spoil what happens, but
Yeah.
she goes back to Noah, and no, wait, no, let's actually spoil this part. Let's go to the next beat, because
Oh, okay.
and the reason I want to go to the next beat is because we've already had Avery. She's already been with another man.
Right.
She goes to visit Noah. Noah's in bed with a cougar. So it's a 1-for-1 right now that we know of. Like
Yeah.
if you're keeping like a body count score, and this
I
comes
think
into
most
a
audience members do. And
yeah,
I
yeah,
think they know that.
and this comes into like a small running gag of like the 30 sexual positions to do before you're 30,
Yeah.
and one of them is called the flying camel. I don't want to know what that is,
Yep. Yep.
but it's a
Learned
funny
both
thing
of
to
them.
say, and it does stimulate an imagination.
Yep.
And of course, Noah's shocked about what Avery's doing here. She tries to cover it up, saying, I'm here for the owl lamp."
Yeah.
uh,
First thing she sees.
so it's definitely hitting on that trope of just grab whatever's close nearby and just grab it and leave, and try not to make things any more
Yeah.
awkward. And of course,
A pitcher breaks, falls
yeah,
and breaks.
a picture breaks, and it's one of
The
the
crack
pictures
goes
of
in
her.
between the two.
Yeah, it's one of the pictures of Avery and Noah. And Noah picks it up, and the crack is right between the two of them, and it
Yep.
hits Noah pretty hard. And she kind of just storms away. She's really upset, and She's desperate to get her mother from beyond the grave to like tell her something, aside from like the seven guys thing, and of course there's like yeah, she just keeps on getting drunker and drunker, and Megan is telling her like, hey, I need you to be at this showcase for me because it's really important, helps me land a gig that I need, and yeah, she ends up hooking up with another guy. Well, almost hooking up with another guy. The guy leaves her at the bar alone with a supermodel and leaves her with the bill.
Yeah, she hooked. She met a guy who was a TikTok star. We almost went through the whole show without a social media reference.
Yeah, she went through the TikTok. He's a TikTok star,
Yeah,
and of course he has this speech of like, anyone can get on TikTok and do a little dance. Boom, 30,000 likes. But content creation is an art. And he's like, that makes me Michelangelo. It's like, I don't believe he would actually know who Michelangelo was. um, but as this is all happening, she's getting texts from Ellis saying, "Hey, you're supposed to be at this place. Where are you? Get here now." It's Megan's broker's open house or whatever it is, and Megan got permission to use this house, and under the presumption that nothing would get damaged or broken or dirty. And so obviously something's going to break, and it's going to be Avery's fault because we're in the lowest point for Avery here. Like the man she thought was great, Brooks, turns out to be a jerk. Noah's sleeping with a cougar. She just cannot. She has too much doubt in herself, and as she goes to this place, she ends up puking in an ice bucket discreetly. And then, of course, a waiter grabs the bucket to go pour out ice into drinks, notices the vomit, drops the bucket, the ice scrambles everywhere. People slip. They hit a pedestal. It knocks down a vase, probably more expensive than buying a typical apartment is in New York, especially in the West End.
And it was a vase that almost got tipped over a couple of times.
A couple of times already. So it's like the Chekhov's gun moment, and it breaks and smashes. And of course, this is where Megan and Avery get into a fight. And you think, okay, so Megan's like she's lost her boyfriend, she's lost the opportunity of another guy, she's lost her best friend, she's in the slums, she gets even more drunk, and then wakes up back home to her parents' house, sleeping on a slice of pizza as a pillow. That part is new. I can't remember another movie that's used that before, but I thought it was clever to really show rock bottom.
And then, do you remember what the brother does?
Oh yeah, he's like, "Are you gonna eat that?" And he just grabs it and just starts munching away.
Yeah,
and this is where Nana and Marty, they do the grandma and dad thing where it's like, listen, don't feel like you have to date seven guys or repeat your mother's story. That's not what this is about. You haven't messed anything up. I wish Mommy was here to help you out, but even she couldn't solve this problem or tell you what to do. You just got to figure out a way to make your life your own. And so, Avery, she's looking through her mom's notebook again. And this part here, I think, is a great foundation for it to really playing super strong with the theme of this, because she flips through her mother's book, which has all the other guys that she dated. And then the last page has Marty, and it reads, "My Marty." And you're like, okay, that's very sweet. And then pros for Marty. He's kind, he's hilarious, he's sexy, makes me feel safe, the love of my life. Cons, I let him get away. And you realize, oh yeah, like the story that her mother went through was that absence makes the heart grow fonder. You appreciate what that person means to you when they're not around anymore, and you realize their value. And she's like, yep, this, and then she comes to terms like, this is her parents' story, what is hers? And so she's kind of like saying like, you know what, I I'm not done with the list, but I understand why mom did what she did to find you again. And maybe it's not going to take 7 guys. Maybe it'll take 8, 10, or 34. And of course, Marty's like 34.
Yeah.
And what does Nana say?
I'm at 100.
Yeah, she's at 100.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So what ends up happening is, like, as Avery is kind of taking in the sights and she's trying to figure out how to recuperate her friendship with Megan, she gets a text from Noah who says, "Can you swing by the apartment?" And so Avery shows up. The apartment is dark, and she's a little worried, but then the entire room is decorated with pillar candles, just like in her parents' proposal. And there in the middle of it all stands Noah. And he gets down on one knee, and he pulls out a ring, and it's a ring pop. And
Yep.
he basically says, "I thought it was a fun callback, and also this was kind of an impulse decision, but it's a real one." And he's like, "It's a placeholder, and as long as you don't, eat it. So what do you say? Should we do this?" And this is where we're going to cut the spoiler. Yeah. because I want you guys out there to think, okay, like, this is everything that that Avery wanted, right? Like, coming back in here, she this is the end of her lowest point. Are we on the rise with Noah finally doing what we thought he should have done before? And I wanted to get your thoughts leading up to this point, Jake. Like, how did you find the development from when she screws up with Brooks, gets wasted, has that really bad date with the social media guy, screws up her best friend's brokerage deal, and finds her way back to Noah? What was that journey like for you?
Yeah, I was, you're expecting it. I'm expecting it because, like you said, there's a couple of different stories for romantic comedies: pursuing the new guy or finding that the guy you had was everything you need. And it got a little jarring because all of a sudden Megan was kind of just that saucy, spicy friend that she played off of, and they played off, and their two personalities were so opposite. And then all of a sudden she had, like, all of a sudden her needs were being brought in, which needed to set up a low point for I guess the lowest of the low for Avery. But it kind of felt like it just got put in there so she had some way to let her friend down. And I mean, and her friend had some pretty good character development. But when I was looking at her as a not really one-dimensional, but she's not allowed to change. She's not allowed. She has to be what she is. And we see her slowly changing into the one who never wanted to get married, now wants to get married. She's still playing the opposite of Avery.
Yeah.
In everything. So the lower her Avery's story goes, the higher Megan's is going, until the unfortunate breaking of the vase. But it all,
Yeah,
so
we see the dichotomy of, like, Avery wants this commitment and Megan's not interested in it, but they're both in situations that are pulling them away from their very goal, their very initial goals, into something different.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I was on board with it. Jokes and stuff like that, but and where we're ending it is like, I guess that's the moment. What is it worth it?
Right.
If you saw this and then you saw the end of it, how would you feel?
Yeah. Now, I would say, like, this...
Walking out of the theater.
Yeah, like, this script, the ending either makes it or breaks it, depending on what you're looking for out of this.
Yes.
And I will say this. It ends with hope, but I'm not going to tell you who she ends up with, if it's Noah, right, or if it's someone else that... Or another character that we got in here. I think anyone out there who is listening but hasn't read the script should go and read the script, because there's distinct characters, a lot of charm, clear goals. The goals are maintained throughout the entirety of the script, so you never forget what the goal is, which is absolutely fantastic. Um, some parts of the humor really land well, other parts not so much. But I will say, yeah, I think it's like a coin toss to a degree of whether, based on the ending alone. Um,
Yes.
but I will say, do like, I do like the turning point when Noah proposes, because it allows Avery some character growth here,
Yeah.
because she's getting exactly what she wants at a time when she's doubting herself. So, with that said, Jake, do you have any additional final thoughts before we go to the rating?
No, because I'll kind of sum them up in my
Okay, great.
read.
So, what do you say, Jake? Is this a green light or a pass for you?
So, let me preface by saying, I don't really, I'm not always going to choose a romantic comedy, but
Mm-hmm.
my wife will. And some of my favorite movie experiences have been going to a show she wanted to see, and I didn't really care, and turned out to be better. So I do have now, like, okay, I like a good romantic comedy we can go both and enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, so that's where I'm at. What I want, I know what I want. I don't want to be. I don't want to get. I don't want to be disappointed.
Right.
That's just me. That's me.
Well, that's for
So,
a lot of people, yeah.
and
Unless
that's
except
yeah,
for those creepy guys that like I seek disappointments. Like, okay,
yeah,
you go do your
yeah.
thing, man. I'm good over here.
Yes. And wow, the characters, there is a lot of humor.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very, they play off of each other. They set up jokes. Um, really hilarious. Um, most of this just brings out a good picture. It almost like, as strong as the writing is, the visual, it sets up, if you had a great visual to go along with it, um, or it describes what the visual looks like,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just as funny. So it's a lot of sight gags, I guess. And the only, but it's kind of like, and I was telling you this earlier. If you add up all of the things that, like RICO charges,
Yeah.
break one little law, break another little law, break another little law, and they all add up, and you got conspiracy to commit all of these things. That's kind of how I'm looking at this. If there was this little thing I didn't like,
Right.
it wasn't that big of a deal. If there was this thing I didn't like, it wasn't that big of a deal. And I'm going to admit, some of them are my own hangups.
Sure.
So I liked Janet. I liked the mom aspect, but makes me go, uh, this movie might have been supposed to be, um, her real arrested development is from the death of her mom, and maybe that got glossed over some more. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's not supposed to be a romantic comedy. Maybe it's supposed to be a drama that's got comedy.
Oh, interesting.
And you take away the romantic end, because to me, I feel like her relationship with her mom is the story.
Yeah.
Or in some ways, I'm going, well, is Megan should she have been the star?
Oh, good question. Very good question. Yeah. Because
And
she has a
maybe,
different character arc completely. Yeah.
yeah, and hers kind of matches a romantic comedy.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'm going, okay, well, not to read too much into it, but maybe Joanne, this is the story I wanted to write, but I can't write that because everybody expects to see this,
Right.
because they didn't, because what was that one romantic comedy that bombed, about the gay?
Oh,
I
God.
didn't even see it.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
so
Dudes or boys or whatever it was. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
and so
bros.
that's
That's the one, right?
bros, and that's what I'm thinking of while I'm going and trying to decide whether I like it, because I mean, there's a lot of funny things, but if you, for me, it's got to be worth it, and
Right.
it failed on that worth it part. And if I watched this with my wife, I know we'd walk out going, "Oh man, I don't want to walk out of the movie going, I wish I had done this."
Right.
So it's a reluctant pass, but man, she is a talented writer. There's just no doubt about that. As far as comedy that I've read, I
Mm-hmm.
think she's one of the better ones, because I think comedy's hard. So
Yeah, I mean, I had a few laughs in this, not like heavy laughs, but I would imagine if I saw it visually, I'd probably laugh harder.
yes,
Um,
picturing it visually brought it out, and I thought,
and
is that
yeah,
is that a
Julia, she's very efficient with her prose to get a visual painted picture, which I have to give her a huge thumbs up for because that's a tricky thing to do. Um, I'm gonna say what I would have done instead of the picture montage. I would have said after the argument with Noah and the breakup, we have Avery watch a home movie of that Janet has filmed of her with her first date with Noah. And we find out that at the end of the like when Noah and Avery leave the house, the camera's set down, mom's forgot to turn it off, and she's just saying all the hopes that she has for Avery on this date. And if this is the guy. And she's like, it's similar to how she could say it's similar to how you and I met, Marty. Like, yeah, they're a little older, but you just see that spark between them that I see when I look at you. And it's like, boom, there's your anchor there. That's what is driving Avery. Like she she's looking at her mom who saw something in the two of them that she felt familiar, and she
oh
wants what she saw her mom and dad had. And from that commentary of Janet being hopeful and of course loving loving Noah as well as the years go on with I would then do like the photo album afterwards. Um,
yeah
you would then better understand Avery's motivation for trying to make being with Noah for as long as she was, and also wanting this to work out and be with him for the rest of her life. And I felt that the initial montage didn't do that well. And I would say, even though the ending is hopeful and does have a happy ending to a degree with some other characters, in addition to Avery, yeah, oof, I might I might give this a reluctant green light, just by a smidge, only because like these are characters I liked watching or liked reading, and but yeah, there's just some aspects of it there where it doesn't make me want to commit to like yeah, this is a full green light of a film, and it's not like the things that give me a little bit of pause are not strong enough for me to put it into past territory. But I definitely understand where you're coming from for it because when they build up to enough, it's like it probably is going to get really close to that edge. Like it's not right enough for you to be like, yeah, if I walked out of this, I'd really hate the movie. More like if I walked out of this, like most of it, but not enough. You know, like I
yeah
completely understand that point of view, 100%. Because yeah, there's a couple of things, and really, I'm just saying that third act is kind of where it comes to a head, right? I mean,
yes
yeah.
yeah yeah that
So
was most of my problem.
so here you go. You have now just got into your typical executive studio head mind space where it's like, yeah, I love it, but it's got a third act problem.
Yeah. That's funny because I can now actually understand what it's saying.
Okay, see, well, that's fantastic. So, all right, we got a great learning experience here for people on the channel to understand what they mean by a third act problem. Um, but yeah, I think that's what it is. Like it's a very minor. It's a divide, but like the gap between your take and my take is like very very slim. It's like super slim. But
Oh yeah, I mean, if I had to make the decision and someone overrode me, I'd be going like, "Oh, okay, that's fine. We'll
yeah,
make it
it's not the
work.
end of the world type of thing.
Yeah, we'll make it work."
Versus like a couple of the other scripts we've read where like, what the heck is this? It's like someone overrodes be like, what are you thinking? Are you nuts?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, but yeah, like I really think again, like for a lot of the decisions that I have here, the plot has to be super super terrible for me to make it a pass. In addition to the characters, in this case here, the plot was strong up until the third act. Characters are strong all the way through, and I think the third act, because it could be tweaked better. Yeah, I'd give it a reluctant green light just based on that alone.
Yeah,
Like the majority of the script was good enough. um, well, good enough on those aspects, but still impressive from the writer. Because again, the prose is really good. Character definitions were good. I would love to. I mean, I could easily see if this was put out onto theaters or streaming series, you would get a sequel about Nana.
Yeah.
Just the adventures of Nana.
Yep.
I can
Yes, you would.
see fans clamoring for it, studio execs wanting it, whatever actress you get that nails the role, she'll be like, yeah, I'll be happy to do it. Put me on a road trip, sleeping with a bunch of guys. Um, oh gosh, that's a premise on its own. Geriatric whore. Um, but yeah, that's. I mean, again, there was. Oh God, what was it? There was a movie about an old grandma who got conned and decided to get her money back. It was really good, but I can't remember the. I think it was like Ruth, maybe, or something. It was actually quite sweet and good. But regardless, yeah, you have the inverse of that with a
Oh
lewd
yeah.
grandma. Uh,
Well, and everybody loves to watch something because they can relate to that, you
right.
know. And there's so much forgiveness
I
and
mean,
so
yeah,
much,
Robert De
but
Niro
also
was
so
in a
much.
movie where he was a lewd grandpa embarrassing his grandson. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Let's. There's a gender swap that makes sense too. You know.
Yes.
So it's okay. So yeah, that's our vote here. Let's check in with the live audience. We'll end the poll here to see what we got with the votes here. And so the audience, based on our conversation, they thought the writer deserved a green light. 100%. That's fine. There, which is great. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, listening to participate in that. Over on the Patreon side of things, the Patreons also voted 100% on the green light as well. So maybe they liked the third act better than we did.
Yeah. Maybe.
I don't know. Again, guys, if you are on the Patreon and you are listening to this and you have read the script and you have voted, please feel free to leave a comment. Always want to hear those comments. We can discuss them on the show. We can do that anonymously if you wish, or we can give you a shout out. Either or, we always appreciate that. Furthermore, we have a couple of donations here. One from fellow Canadian Fat Steven, who donated 69 Canadian, saying, "Don't get distracted." Well, thank you for that, Fat Steven. Always appreciate it. Like your gaming streams, and you make some amazing thumbnails, so keep up the great work out there. And then also fellow co-host Adega Outlaw donated $5, saying, "Great work, gents." Well, thank you so much, Adega. Always appreciated from you, and of course from Fat Steven, but never required or obligated. Thank you so much for that and the support. With that being said, Jake, any final thoughts before we call it a night? Because we had a nice, strong 2-hour conversation covering a lot of cool stuff. What do you say?
You know what? One more thing I was going to say about the script.
Sure, go
Um,
ahead.
you know what? One thing that I've noticed with comedies, romantic comedies, especially when there's breakups or anything involved,
Sure.
it's tough because with so many people, divorce affecting so many families, maybe it's your kids,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's a friend, maybe it's you. That's a big where maybe not trying to justify my argument, but
Oh, sure.
that's where you lose people.
Can be.
If
Yep.
something's too close to home, you always run that risk. So maybe that's what's good about having everything on this whole script be so kind of out of the bizarre, out
Mm-hmm.
into the bizarre area. It's hard. It would be hard to say, hey, that exact same thing happened to me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the other part too is relationships, broadly speaking, always do hit a button with audiences because we've all had various types throughout,
Yep.
and it is, I would say, as a writer, the goal you have when you're doing a rom-com or anything that deals with, I mean, again, you have to put your main character on the lowest point, which means that they have to start happy, go low, and then find their way to be happy again. And that's going to
Yes.
happen in a variety of ways. But for you as a writer, if you are believing in the genre with which you're writing, you want to be you want to do something different with that genre, but you also don't want to betray what the genre stands for. And now this script does not betray what the genre stands for,
Mm.
which is great because it is about like the value of love, why it's important, that it's beyond the physical, which is also another one. But it also plays into how the physical helps. A good-looking gal or guy is definitely something that is instinctive to our species. uh, can't really be helped.
Yep.
But the other part too is even though it plays with that, one of the things I think is a strength for this is that Avery isn't looking for the physical; she's looking for the meaning,
Yeah.
and that's a really good. Those are the types of messages that you kind of want to make sure you're leaving in your story as a byproduct of the actions you're trying to tell. Like, it's a front-loaded message, but it's not done so at the expense of the characters or the expense of what it's trying to do. It's like Avery wants marriage. She wants love. She wants the type of love story that her parents had. And she is willing to put herself in uncomfortable situations to try and find that. And that's a good way where you have a personal character motivation be in sync with the thematic message of the story. And the other part too is like, while you do know that this is her goal, the message itself is complementary to the goal, as opposed to an agenda-driven message or a preachy message or a counterintuitive message. It's I would say, not to be too punny, it's married to the situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah. So guys, yes, if you're listening live, please feel free to Google and check out the script yourself if you haven't read it, and form your own opinion. Please leave me a comment here. If you're a Patreon supporter, you can actually find out what scripts you are reviewing every Monday before the following Saturdays, and you can vote on the scripts and leave a comment on what your take is on the script, whether it's about the writer, the plot, the characters, what have you, or just random thoughts on the script itself. We would love to be able to include you guys into the conversation in that regard. We also have another donation from the Dead Man, 99 cents as a pooper sticker, so a poop emoji. Thank you so much, Dead Man. Always appreciated. Jake, thank you so much again for joining me this Saturday to talk about this script. You always have good takes, great heart about it, and the other part too is like, I'm in the same boat with you, man. If my girlfriend picks a romantic comedy, I am apprehensive at first, but like, it's a 60-40 and I'll like it because most of them are more modern, and they're a lot on Netflix, and Netflix is not really putting out great stuff, and sadly neither is Hulu on that regard. So yeah, I'm in 60-40 there.
Yeah. Well, there's a market for it as long as you don't overdo it.
Right.
You get a couple of good successes. They're good during the time of year that they're good for. But everybody's going out on a first date. Yeah. A first date. But, well, there's a lot of dating.
There's a lot of dating. Finding a good date night routine that, still allows for a little bit of variety, but also maintains a certain level of comfort as well, goes a long way. Movies are like that. I do hope one day they become more of the common man entertainment, as opposed to how expensive they're getting these days. I'm lucky I have a home theater, but even though I'm making good money right now on working on shows and productions, I'm still, I still holding on to the fact, like, man, if I were not doing well, I would look at this thinking, okay, I could take my girlfriend out to the movies, drop $120, or I could spend that $120 on 8 days of groceries and make a really great romantic dinner for my girlfriend instead.
Yeah. We have a really good theater here. It just sold though. So it actually got bought by one of the investors behind Angel Studios. So they may change that. So they may be doing kind of like what Netflix is doing to kind of push some theater chains. So we'll see how that works.
Yeah, let's see how that works.
Okay. But they were really affordable all the time. In fact, I'd go to the movie a lot because of it.
Oh man, see, though, like that's the type of thing. Like, we used to have some rep theaters about an hour outside of town, like $5 tickets, and they weren't. I mean, they're comfortable seats, but they weren't like the luxury seats you get in theaters these days. It just felt like that old school theater environment. Yeah, and that theater, it's struggling right now because, like, well, number one, not as many great movies showing. Number two, film rentals for classics have been increasing to a lot of theaters. So if you want to find a classic movie from like the 70s, 80s, or 90s and show it in your theater, the rental is like increased in price significantly since then, because those people know that those shows are going to sell out, so they want to get extra cash.
They're the best things out there.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that was great. I want to give a thank you so much to our mods on the live stream. So that'd be Darren M, the Dead Man, Adega, and of course Fat Steven. Thank you so much for joining us this evening and monitoring the chat. Although our chat is so great, they don't need monitoring. You're also wonderful and encouraging and polite with some great notes here. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to us this week. We'll be back again next week with episode 93. But I yeah, episode 93. And then 94, episode 95 will be a recorded show because I will have to be out of the province working on location. But yeah, then we'll be back in November. Yeah, I can't wait to share with you the next 8 scripts before we hit episode 100, which should be a lot of fun. And until then, Jake, thank you so much for joining me this weekend. We'll definitely have you back again really soon. And yeah, guys, have a great weekend. Find some wonderful stories and feel free to share them in the comments here as well. Especially if there's something you saw on television or in the theaters that isn't really being talked about that you think is pretty good. Let's help spread the word on those productions because that's what's going to keep the entertainment fresh for all of us. And with that being said, guys, have a wonderful rest of your weekend. And until next time, remember, when it comes to great story, it all starts with the script.